call her later, no rush. She's a slim beat girl from Decatur. When we first spoke, I could tell she had flavor. My voice box smelled like green hour later.
What's up? Got me feeling like an AC. Cruising with the top down, the weather's still amazing. God has been good, so I'ma keep taking dates with her. But if she cheat on me, I promise I'ma find better. They say New York's a cold chick with an attitude, that is true. But it's expensive if I had to move, so I might do Texas if I had to choose. A lot of people tell me that the rain must do, but shoot, I'm in the mood for a better view. You must be tripping if you think there's not a better you. And I gotta see, hey, you the hottest, but my AZ lady is modest. I know I can find me a better woman, some girl who defines me as she do it. She knows what's inside me, so wrong with myself got me finding.
Check 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Welcome back to the C&J Sports and Beer Podcast, live from P-Town, the PDX they call it, some town they call it, but I'm just gonna call it P-Town tonight on this Thursday, August 25th, 2016, episode 17. I have a great show lined up for you tonight, and as you know, this is a re-record. So if you were hanging with us yesterday and you saw a total black screen, we killed the hangout because we were having some issues with our audio setup. But hey, we're back. We're back tonight to talk Power 5 football and wrap up the Power 5 conferences. And we're going to end our Power 5 football talk with the ACC conference. Then on from there, we're going to take it to the NFL and finish up our NFL preseason talk. And that's just jumping on, playoff predictions, who's going to represent the AFC, who's going to represent the NFC, and also touch on end of the season awards. I mean, if that's something that you think is important, I think is important, who's going to win those awards at the end of the season. So we got that, and we got a hot take segment that requires two individuals to perform and clash at each other. But if you're watching live and you know how to get to us on Twitter, throughout the show, I'm going to be monitoring what's going on with Twitter. So when we get to that hot take segment, if you want to chime in, drop your opinion, bless me with some knowledge, please do so at CJ Sports Beer Pod, at CJ Sports Beer Pod. And as you know, each week when we do the show and we get prepared for the show, we always have to go out and find a lovely beer to feature for the show. And tonight, as last night, but tonight it's official. We're going to go ahead and do the Lagunitas 12th of Never Ale, the 12th of Never Ale. This is the ale that I've been waiting for the longest time, especially when I was told and heard and read that Lagunitas was going to be putting their beer in cans. So I'm really happy and excited to have this beer yet again. This will be the fifth time, 5th time that I'm having it. So you already know, once the intro is dropped, I go into the social media blast. And if you keep up with us, you probably know our social media outlets better than us. But if not, Facebook and Tumblr. The Facebook page has been up for about a month now. Tumblr has been around since we started. CJ Sports and Beer Podcast. Just put that in your search box and type that CJ Sports Beer and Podcast in there, and you will be able to find us. Google Plus. YouTube Live, Our Google Plus page is always going to be around, but from now on, or at least after 9/12, we're going to be broadcasting directly from YouTube Live. So if you aren't subscribed to us now, please subscribe to us right now. And all you have to do is go in your search box, C&J Sports and Beer Podcast, click search, we will pop up. And for my individuals that stay on the go, can never watch us live, SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, on the go. I think YouTube has a setup where you can listen to it and lock your phone if you have the iPhone. SoundCloud, you can do that with the app. iTunes, you can do that with the app. So if you want to listen to us on the go, those three apps right there, iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, that's where you can find us on the go. And like I said, Twitter, at CJ Sports Beer Pod, at CJ Sports Beer Pod. So before we get started, I'm gonna go ahead and I just love the sound of that. When you have these headphones on and you crack that can, you get that nice. Let me go ahead and pull up. Oh man, there it is again. I got the little spill action going on, but ain't nothing wrong with that. That's why I got my pets in the office with me. They'll go ahead and suck that beer up and get a little buzz going on. And as you can see, you know what I'm saying? This weekend, I will be in San Diego for a wedding. Two good friends of mine are getting married, getting hit. So I'll be there for 24 hours, you know what I'm saying? Plan will leave Portland 6:30 in the morning, land in San Diego at 9:15, 9:20. I gets with my people, new people, old friends from my 10 years in San Diego. Get to see my big homie Sean during his birthday weekend for this wedding. But it only felt right that I did this show tonight and I got the San Diego Chargers glass. You know what I'm saying? Only because I'm going to be in San Diego, and also to poke fun at them for not being able to lock in a deal for the 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft. So cheers to San Diego. Cheers to this weekend. Cheers to Lagunitas. Cheers to having the 12th of never ale again for the 5th time. Here we go. Each and every time it gets better. Each and every time it gets better. Golden, nice and yellow, sweet taste, semi-hoppy. It's very light. It's very light. It's I believe this is what, like 4. They got this coming in, if I'm not mistaken, or 5.5%. So it's very light and it's very citrusy. I mean, it's nice and crisp. So it's a summer beer. But it's a summer beer that's going to be on the shelves all year around. Hooray for them. Let me get one more sip in before I get into the beer-related news that I want to share with you guys. Here we go. One more sip. See, I have to throw that pinky up, you know what I'm saying? Like the people in the wine game, got to throw that pinky up. But anyways, here we go. Beer-related news. Check this out. Since I'm on my way to San Diego, once again, it's only right that I drop some information from San Diego. So if you don't necessarily follow beer news or you're not up on beer-related topics going on in the beer world, check this out right here. You may find this interesting. Boom. San Diego's Jetty Extract, okay? They make 80% pure THC, all right? Thorn Street Brewery brews some of the best beers in the nation, some of the best beers in Southern California. These two companies have, I guess, decided to come together on a project that every cannabis lover dreams about, okay? Beer-flavored weed. Take a minute and let that just resonate into your system. Okay, here it is. In summary, I guess what I read and how I can present it to you, okay? And hopefully you are as excited about this as I am. And I'm a non-smoker. I haven't smoked anything in my life. But check this out. Here we go. Jetty Extract found a way to fraction off the terpenes. Terpenes, I think that's how you pronounce that. I could be screwing it up. Anyways, they found a way to fraction off the terpenes, okay, through distillation prior to extraction, and then reintroduce them to the final product to get the smell back, okay? All right, now, terpenes is an organic compound found in every plant. So every plant has it, okay? It's the key ingredient in cannabis. It will not get you high, but it produces a distinct odor, okay? So that's why, you know what I'm saying, if you're around someone or you're just in the area, you be like, man, that smell somebody's smoking. Is somebody smoking? Do you smell that? Or you can be somewhere where someone is smoking and be like, man, that's horrible. What are they smoking? Are they smoking grass? You know, someone just cut the grass and decided to roll it up in some zigzags and put a lighter to the end of the stick and blow it and see what they can get of it. So it's basically just, you know what I'm saying, an ingredient that produces a distinct odor, okay? Jetty Extract has found a way to remove all of those terpenes in their concentrated process, okay? So this allows them to use that flavor in beer. Not this beer, but in beer. Another sip. Cannabis has 1,000 strains. Okay, so this is I guess for me this is where it gets interesting. Cannabis has 1,000 strains, so that means the possibilities of special beer will go beyond a pumpkin, a lemon, a blueberry, a watermelon, a peach, a this, a that, or this or that. The possibilities are endless because you have 1,000 strands, okay, to work with. So just imagine the possibilities that can be expanded from the few dozen hop varieties that are out there. Basically, what I'm saying is, coming from an individual who's a non-smoker, I am looking forward to trying a beer that will have all the flavoring of some of the best cannabis in the world. And so happened this weekend, when I'm in San Diego, I will have the opportunity to pick up a few cans or at least try it on tap. So if you would like to try this beer and you're in San Diego or you're somewhere within the San Diego County, make sure you check out your bottle shop, you check out your bars, you hit up the tasting room, Thorn Street Brewing tasting room, I believe it's in North Park, and you will be able to try the OG High PA, not IPA, High PA. It's the Sessions IPA that's coming in at about 4.2% ABV. And on the notes, I guess, reading notes based on what other individuals have tried it or other individuals who have tasted it and reviewed it, it has this pine taste or smell, grapefruit notes. It's brewed with Mosaic, Citra, and Columbus hops. It's just a special aroma that everyone is ripping and raving about. And it's just the flavoring from the essential oils provided by Jetty Extract. So of every, I guess, written review I've read, everyone has said something about sticky, 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 sticky. So beer is wet, but the OG High PA is very sticky. So cheers to Jetty Extract and cheers to Thorn Street Brewing for coming together and bringing something new to the beer community. Cheers to them, respect to them. But now that we got that out of the way, hopefully you're not flat-faced drunk on your face or you're not high while you're watching, because now it's time for us to get into that ACC football conference talk. And we're going to start off in the Atlantic Division, okay? In the Atlantic Division. If you've been following the show, you've been following Jared and I speak on college football, we've basically been highlighting the two, not one, but the two top teams in each division. And this week, or today, I'm going to speak on the two top teams that I think are the big dogs, strong dogs, hardcore dogs in the Atlantic Division, and that's going to be Clemson, Florida State. Okay, those are the two top teams I think are big in the Atlantic Division. I truly believe Deshaun Watson is hands down the best quarterback in college football. He was the player of the year last season, and I think he's the reason why Clemson will have a run at a national title again this year. He's a stud. I think he's the best quarterback in college football. Second, when you have a dual threat quarterback, and he doesn't like to be referred to as a dual threat quarterback, but the kid can pass. He's an accurate passer. He can get the ball down the field, and he can also make plays using his own leg. So if you have a dual threat quarterback on your roster and he is the starter and he has led the team to a national title a year ago and he was a player of the year a year ago, all you need this kid to do is stay healthy, because if he stay healthy, you have the ingredients to repeat what you did last season and possibly capitalize it with a championship, because in that championship game, had Clemson not had him on the field or even on the team, they would have got dusted. I don't think they would have scored. So he was a large part of their success last year, and I think he's going to be a large part of their success this year. Now, moving on from that in the quarterback aspect of the game, 5 seasons with 10 plus wins. So I don't see anything less than 10 or more wins this season by Clemson. Dabo Swinney, in my opinion, he's a motivator. I really enjoy what he brings to the football field and how he ingratiates his players and lifts his players up. I think that's great because you don't see a lot of coaches out there doing that now. I don't mean that in a negative way, but you don't see a coach that's out there when he speaks in interviews. I mean, each and every time I've listened to him or watched him in an interview before a game, after a game, or leading up to a game, he's always praised his players in a major way. And I know a lot of coaches out there do that, but I don't think any coach does that better than Dabo Swinney. Now, moving along from that, since those two are the head honchos on the team, my next man up, and I think who's going to be the big-time difference maker this year is going to be Wayne Gallman. Wayne Gallman is coming off of 1,500-plus yards, 13 touchdowns, 1,500-plus rushing yards, and 13 touchdowns. He will be the primary rusher this season. So that means we can expect his workload to go up a little bit more than 1,500 plus yards. And the only reason why I say that because this may be his last year. And if he want to boost his draft stocks, he's got to show them that he can produce a little more than he did last season, which I think he's highly capable of. What's going to be shaky, in my opinion, because I can't give you the good without giving you the bad. What's going to be super shaky is they're only bringing back three of the top 7 starters from last year's roster. So guys like Kevin Dodd and Shaq Lawson, long gone. So when you have a top defense like they did, you had 7 bona fide players on your defense that are bona fide and ready for the NFL. When you only bring 3 of those players back, then you got some holes to fill in various places. So I think their defense will be okay. And only the reason why I said I think their defense will be okay because they were ranked 10th last year, fewest points or fewest yards allowed. Hold up. I need some beer. Hold on just one second. Beer fixes everything. Let's rewind that. The defense was ranked 10th in fewest yards allowed in the NCAA. Now, hopefully they can stay at a level somewhere between 10 and 15 minus 4 of those top dogs that they had on their defense. I'm interested in seeing how they start the season because they start the season against Auburn, and Auburn's in the SEC. And you know what I'm saying? The ACC is good, but you know, there's steps and hills and mountains to climb once you start facing teams in other conferences, okay? And if you've seen how we, I guess, presented our Power 5 conference talk, we started with the SEC, we hit the Big 10 up, we went ahead and hit the Pac-12 up, we hit our Big 12 up, and we hit our ACC. Now, granted, there's some great teams in the ACC. One of those teams played in a national championship. But when you look at overall talent and where these players are going, the SEC is stacked. The Big 10 is right there. The Pac-12 was second, but they're starting to move down because of what Ohio State has done the last few seasons, what Michigan State has done the last few seasons, what Michigan is looking like they're ready to do. You can't forget about Iowa. You can't forget about the good season that Northwestern had. And you can't forget about Wisconsin and what Nebraska may bring to the table this year. So I have them second. And like I said, Pac-12, Big 12, and the ACC. So with that being said, they're going to start their season off against Auburn on the road. I don't know how Auburn is going to be this season. I mean, we spoke on them, but I didn't have Auburn as a top 1-2 team in their division. But I mean, like I said, it's the SEC, and they're coming on the field with 3-star, 4-star, and 5-star recruits. So it's going to be interesting how they start. And then after that, their next big game will be against Florida State. So in the Atlantic, it's always a coin toss. It's either going to be Florida State or it's going to be Clemson. Either one of those teams are going to beat each other up and send one out of the 14 playoffs, or they're both going to lose a game, and then that game isn't really going to matter other than the simple fact who's going to be the champion in the division, who's going to win the division and go ahead and play in the championship game. So in my opinion, I think Clemson is bound for another 1, 2, 3, one of those 4 spots in the CFP. I think they're bound, and I think Clemson is going to have a great year. Moving on to Florida State. The second team, I think, is the second best team in this entire ACC conference, but the second best team in this Atlantic division, okay? The difference maker for me is going to be Dalvin Cook. He demolished the competition last season, rushed for 1,600 plus yards, 20 touchdowns, including three-score games last season against, that'll be South Florida, and also against rival Miami. Could very well be, you know what I'm saying, a guy that's going to be in the Heisman running this year. So I see him going out there and making a difference and putting his name in one of those spots for, you know, coaches and the media and analysts to focus on to see if he can really be a big time back that's going to be ready to produce in the NFL next season. So I think he's going to be the difference maker for Florida State. They're going to move at the pace of Dalvin Cook. If Dalvin Cook is on, I think they're going to be on. And like I said, they're the second best team in this division, but overall, I think they're the second best team in the ACC. Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo is the man. He's another coach like Dabo Swinney. It's like, those are two guys that I wish I can just like go out. We can have lunch, have a few cocktails, go have dinner, talk sports, and, you know, talk about how great motivators they are. You know what I'm saying? He is the root cause of the 3 ACC titles in the last 6 seasons. And we can't forget about that national championship that they won when Jameis Winston was there. Now, when we move further down their depth chart, you know what I'm saying? To be honest, last season, I didn't think Everett Golson was going to play as great as he did. And I don't know how the backup, who's now the starter, I guess his name is Sean Marjorie. I don't know how great he's going to be because Everett Golson was, I mean, he played every single game or nearly every single down last season. So when we did see Sean Marjorie, I think it was a few of those games. I think Everett Golson went down with an injury. He either had a wrist injury or he had some kind of injury that took him out one game and kind of halted his production in a few games. And I think that's when they lost their first game. I don't have the schedule in front of me and I don't remember like that, but I do remember him being out for a game or in and out of games, which put Sean Marjorie in a position to go out there and take some snaps. So I don't know about their quarterback situation there because I don't know much about Sean Marjorie, but I'm looking forward to see what he can produce. I can say their O-line is intact and their ace receiver, Travis Rudolph, is a stud. Their entire receiving core is a stud. They got a kid named Jesus Wilson, Kermit Whitefield. And all three of these guys had at least 57 receptions last year. So if Sean Marjorie can produce like Everett Golson did as far as the passing game, I think Florida State is going to be all right, like freeway. I think they're going to be straight. So the defense will bring back half of the starters from last year. And half is great. You know what I'm saying? You don't necessarily miss a beat. But when you have a guy like DeMarcus Walker, who had 10.5 sacks last year and 15.5 tackles for loss, you're going to be all right. So Florida State, they have enough to make a run for their 4th ACC title in 5 years, but they have to get to work early, number one, and they have to make sure they knock Clemson off in that October 29th matchup. And like I said, that's going to make or break either one of these teams' season, whether it be an ACC title or it be one of the 4 positions in the college football playoffs. I don't necessarily have them in my Final Four, and I didn't have them in my Final Four last season. 2 seasons ago, or it'll be 3 seasons ago, what it was, 2 seasons ago, I did have them in my Final Four. And, you know, they got beat down by Oregon. So whatever. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a great year for Jimbo and his players. And I see them doing some big things. But as of right now, like I said, I do not have them in my Final Four. So right there was the ACC Atlantic Division. We're going to go on a quick break. I will return. Listen to some music from my guys, The Works, my homeboys, my brothers from another mothers. And when we return, I will talk to you about the ACC Coastal Division. ACC Conference, Coastal Division. See you in a hot second.
I'm gonna put you on snooze for like 15 more minutes. I don't wanna wake up today. Leave me alone. Damn. I woke up with my eyes closed cause I didn't want to see the sunshine no more. I'd rather just sleep all day and not worry about a thing. Feeling like David Ruffin, man, I'd rather it rain. I turn my phone off cause I don't want to answer them calls. When the clock bowl of cereal, I'm still in my drawers. I don't even want to call my girl. I just want to do nothing and just sleep and get away from the world. So I close my
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the C&J Sports and Beer Podcast. Just returning from a short break, and if you're tuning in with us, like I said, this is going to be an interactive show. So if you want to chime in, you want to drop some knowledge, you want to say something, be sure to hit us up on Twitter at CJ Sports Beer Pod, at CJ Sports Beer Pod. And you know what? I think it's about time for us to get into the Coastal Division of the ACC Football Conference. And the two teams that I'm going to talk about tonight, and the two teams that I think is going to do big things this season is going to be number one, Miami, number two, North Carolina. Take your shirt off, spin it around your head like a helicopter. Boom, here we go with Miami. Two things I like about Miami. One, Brad Kaya. Two, Mark Richt. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening and you're a fan of Georgia or you're a fan of Miami, and you're not happy with Mark Richt or Georgia, you're happy he's gone or you're upset that he's gone, at the end of the day, I think it was time for him to move on from Georgia. He did some great things there. They were always a 10-plus win team. He could just never get over the hump. He could never win that SEC championship and put them in a position to play for a national championship. But he was always a winner. He's been a proven winner. His faith, God, I really like that spirit that he brings to the side of sports, because a lot of people don't get into the religious factors of sports, but I enjoy that. I like that. I believe that. And that's something I did as a young coach with my young players. Okay, so here we go. Some people think, here we go. Some people think, and maybe it's just me who think this, but some people think that Brad Kaya is the second best quarterback in football, college football, that is. The second best quarterback. Now, me, I'm going to pump the brakes on that. I like the kid. I like what he brings to the table. He's an athlete. He has an arm. He's good. But I'm not going to say he's the second best quarterback in college football. If anything, I'm going to have to give those praises to the kid at Ole Miss. And he's the kid who said he was the best quarterback in college football at the beginning of the season, or at the beginning of the preseason, which sparked a lot of controversy. But at the end of the day, you have to believe in yourself. And I'm glad he believes in himself. And it's something that we covered on the show. So back to Brad Kaya. The kid has what it takes to be a top 10 pick in next year's draft. He has what it takes. His touchdown and interception ratio last year was something spectacular. Now, he didn't throw many touchdowns, 16 touchdowns. He had 5 interceptions, but it shows that he's not careless with the football, which is a great thing, I think, that will boost your stocks when it comes NFL draft time. From there, 32, 38, 3,238 passing yards last season. So he wasn't a big passer last season as some of these other guys we've mentioned on the show in previous weeks and previous conversations when we were talking about other football conferences within college football. But he's a kid, like I said, who's not careless. He's not going to turn the ball over. And he can go out there and make some plays. As a freshman, as a freshman in the ACC, he had the best passing efficiency. And that was in 2014. Last year, he was a sophomore, and he was the 4th best quarterback in the ACC as far as passing efficiency. Like I said, the kid isn't going to turn the ball over or put the team in a situation to lose football games because he's careless. I really enjoy this kid. They have a 1-2 punch in their backfield. Joseph Yearby rushed for a little over 1,000 yards last season. And then you have my man Mark Walton, who punched in about 9 touchdowns. So that's a great 1-2 punch that they have. I see them doing bigger things this year, and I think the pressure will be on them to perform. And the only reason why I say pressure, because last year they were ranked together 117th in the nation, only averaging about 120 rushing yards per game. And you had guys like Dalvin Cook, Royce Freeman, Ezekiel Elliott, and who else? My man, Mark Henry from Alabama. I mean, those guys were tearing up yards per game, and you have 2 individuals that are only giving you a combined 120 yards. So if you think about it, we're talking like 60 yards each if they're sharing carries, or, you know what I'm saying, 70, 50, you know what I'm saying? Something that doesn't scream out to you when you have guys that were rushing for 120 yards or more, or at least 100 yards per game, even if they weren't necessarily sharing all the carries. But you know what I'm saying, they were out there getting the bulk of the carries. And how they use this team, you have Joseph Yearby as your primary back, and then you have Mark Walton as the guy who's going to punch the touchdowns in on goal line situation, because I believe he's just a bigger guy, but I can't be wrong. But anyways, like I said, they need to find a way to boost that 120 rushing yards to something closer to 200 if they want to ensure that Miami has a lot of success, because like I said, Brad Kaya is going to do his job. But I think those 2 backs, those 2 guys in the backfields have to step it up this year. Their O-line had some troubles last year, and that may have, you know what I'm saying, contribute to the lack of running back production from those 2 guys. But 5 of the starters are returning, and those 5 players are juniors this season. So that means the camaraderie is there. The experience is there. The history is there. And I guess, you know what I'm saying, the goal to want to be better is there. So I see this offensive line stepping their game up, blocking better, not only for Brad Kaya, but also for the 2 backs in their backfield that I think will wreak havoc and do some things this season. And after that, like I said, I think Mark Richt will improve Miami's 8-5 record. You know, he has the ability to get the best out of his players, and a 10-win season is something I see from the U based on Mark Richt being there. So there were an 8-win team last year without them, or without him. I think they're capable of producing 2 to 3 more wins and getting to that, you know what I'm saying, 10, 11 games won this season, and playing for a higher bowl game than the bowl game they played in last year. Now, next, when we get to North Carolina, check this out. I'm going to give you these years, or the win-loss for each year, starting with 2011, 12, 13, 14, and 15. 7-6, 8-4, 7-6, 6-7, 11-3. Now, you see that ending result there in 2014, they were 6-7. 2015, they were 11-3. That probably, I mean, to me, that has to be the second best turnaround I noticed from the season before last season. And what I mean by that is they went 6-7, you know what I'm saying? They made a bowl game, but they turned it around. They shaved off 4 losses, okay? Added those 4 losses plus 1 more to their win column and went 11-3, and they were a fantastic football team last season. So with that being said, Carolina is coming off one of their best seasons in years, and going all the way to the Pacific Northwest up at Washington State, they did the same thing. They were 3-9 the year before last season, and I think they won 10 games last season. So Carolina's, like I said, they're coming off the best season in years. Their 2017 recruiting class is something nice. The 2016 group is something nice, and it only features one 4-star player. they're defensive heavy in my mind. And it shows based on over half of their signees are on the defensive side. And only reason why I say they're defensive heavy, the other day when Jared and I were talking about this, we were talking about the fact how they won a lot of games, but their defense relinquished in 3 games almost 1,200 total yards. So I like what the coach and his staff did in the offseason to get prepared for this season. Go out there and get defensive players that can make stops and put you in a position to not give up almost 350 yards per game. That needs to be cut down by a quarter or a third or something for them to be legit, because their record shows that they're a legit team and they're a winning team. But when you look at the stats, they score a lot of points, but they give up a lot of points. So I'm glad they paid more attention and more focus to the defensive side of the ball. Okay. Their difference maker in my eyes and in my opinion is going to be the kid, Elijah Hood. 17 touchdowns, 1,400 plus rushing yards, 6 yards per carry. 6 yards per carry. Now, I know you're sitting up there and you're probably thinking, well, the ACC is soft, and you may be right, but still, we're talking 6 yards per carry. Every time he touches the ball, he's putting you in a position to get you halfway to a first down, halfway to a first down, halfway to a first down. And I'm just wondering if he can produce the same exact contribution last year, this year, or if he can make it better. And just to highlight on him, 220 yards on 21 carries against NC State last season. My eyes is on the game that North Carolina will play against NC State, because I want to see if Elijah Hood can go out there and put another 220 yards on these guys, another 21 carries, and another victory by North Carolina. So it's going to be the final game of the season. It's going to be something to watch. And like I said, I can't wait to watch that matchup. So that is it right there, ladies and gentlemen. In terms of college football, that is it. SEC, Big Ten, Pac-12, Big 12, and ACC is done. At some point throughout the season, we will probably pay attention to the Mountain West, because Jared and I are big fans of the San Diego Aztecs, San Diego State Aztecs. So we may show some love to the Mountain West, but for the most part, we're going to pay attention to those Power 5 teams or those Power 5 conferences and the teams within the Power 5 layout in the conferences, you know, between, like I said, the SEC, Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC. College football kicks off this weekend. So there's a few games that are going to be on Friday, a few games on Saturday, but next Thursday, next Friday, and next Saturday is when the official week kickoff. So you have a few games, few interesting games that will start tomorrow night, and a few games on Saturday just to get us warmed up. But hey, no. Next weekend is when it all goes down. So make sure you have on your college team apparel, your alumni apparel, or the team you root for, because it's going to be fun. College football is back. And you know, after college football starts, NFL starts. So we're going to go on a short break before we dabble into the NFL. And I speak on those end of season awards and the playoff picture. Playoff predictions. Stay where you at, stay locked, and the C&J Sports and Beer Podcast will return in a brief moment later.
Okay. Yeah. You let the beat right in plastic. Jay Ricks, Joe June.
Yeah, so they claim to spit that realness style. No more auto-tune and them dance move style. Cause I've been killing microphones like it was embedded in my genetical code. I can give a fuck about a throne or a belt or a trophy. They can't hold me. You need a triple team, triple beam, crack addiction. And when I listen, I hear you spitting. You call yourselves MCs, better yet Dr. Seuss. Bedtime lyrics make me wanna hit snooze. They should come up with a truce before we step up in the booth. And this is what you call fresh. More or less, you can goods water down down and process. Regardless, we ain't trying to start shit. We just telling you.
Yep. Back from the break, the C&J Sports and Beer Podcast is back, ladies and gentlemen. If you're tuning in with us right now, just know you can find us and our content on. Are you ready to rock with me? Are you ready to repeat after me? Facebook, Tumblr, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google+, YouTube. That's where you can find us in Twitter. In Twitter at CJ Sports Beer Pod, at CJ Sports Beer Pod. And those other outlets, all you have to do is in your search box. Tap. C&J Sports and Beer Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, you already know who it is. You already know who I am. And you know what we bring to the table when we produce this show on a Wednesday night, but tonight a Thursday night, and when we were producing it on Monday night. So I'm glad you're rocking with us. I'm glad you're tuning in, and I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. And cheers to you for being there and being with me tonight. Now, like I said, before we went on a break, I want to go into the reason why, or state a few reasons, or not even state reasons why I think the end of season awards is going to go to the selected individuals that I am going to ram off. I'm going to speak on. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that. So first off, the end of season awards include, at least the end of season awards that Jared and I are going to pay attention to. MVP, number one, hands down. Offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, offense rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year. And you guys are going to be shocked by my offensive rookie of the year. And then we're going to go to defensive rookie of the year, and we're going to go coach of the year. Okay, so starting off with my MVP. Cam Newton had his chance, and all the other Super Bowl winning quarterbacks have had their opportunity to be named the most valuable player. And since I have this team representing the NFC, that means I have them winning the NFC championship and playing in Super Bowl 51. You best believe my MVP award is going to that guy who's about 3.5 hours north of me. I'm in Portland, Oregon. The state that's the border that's about 20 minutes away is Washington. The city that's about 3 hours north of me is Seattle. So you best believe Russell Wilson is going to be my MVP of the year. That's who I'm rolling with, okay? Offensive player of the year. And this is a toss-up. Okay, and I have the right to change. I'm telling you guys right now, I have the right to change mid-season during week 8, week 9. I have the right to change the name that I'm throwing in the pot, the person that I'm deciding to roll with. But as of now, right now, I think Antonio Brown is going to be the offensive player of the year. Okay, and that guy that I have as Antonio Brown is 1, and then that 1A. Is Aaron Rodgers. And only reason why I say that, because Aaron Rodgers had a decent year last year. Okay. They won 10 games. They went deep in the playoffs. I mean, not as deep, but they went deep enough based on the fact that he didn't have his number one wide receiver on the roster. And also the defense wasn't as great as it could have been last season. But Aaron Rodgers still went out there and performed at a high level and was a top 15 quarterback in the league. So I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be my second choice for offensive player of the year. When we go defensive player of the year, and this is a team that I'm going to jump on their bandwagon. Yes, I'm a Chicago Bears fan, but at the end of the day, I'm a fan of the NFL, and I love to see teams that are always at the bottom find a way to get to the top. And a team that I think that is going to be at the top, and I'm sure those San Diego Charger fans don't like that, and they aren't going to like the fact that I'm saying that, but you know what? Cheers to them. And cheers to the Oakland Raiders for being the team that I think that's going to do big things. And that's why I think the kid Khalil Mack will be the defensive player of the year. I mean, he was an all-pro in not one but 2 positions last year. JJ Watt, you're the man. I respect you. You're big time, but I think it's time for a younger guy like Khalil Mack to go up and show the NFL what he's all about. So he's going to be my defensive player of the year. Moving on from there, offensive rookie of the year is going to have to go to Ezekiel Elliott. Now, hear me out. I don't think he's going to be the number one featured back there. But when you have an offensive line like the Cowboys have, when a guy can be horrible and injured prone all his entire football career, coming from Arkansas where he was the man, and his first few years in Oakland where he was the man, he rushed for 1,000 yards last year behind that offensive line. Then they just picked up my man Alfred Morris, and now you have Ezekiel Elliott. So you have three guys that can go out there and give you some production. And I think they're going to use Ezekiel Elliott in short down situations because he's not as big, but he's a guy that can get in and out his cuts. And once he's off and he breaks a few tackles, he can be on his way. So I think they're going to use him as, okay, they're gonna run some there, third and short. He's going to pick up the first down. The defense is going to get a little lackadaisical, and it'll be a pitch, and this guy's going to pick up the first down, and he's going to pick up 20 to 25 yards past the first down. So I think the fact that they have a three-headed monster, normally we talk about a two-headed monster, but the fact they have a three-headed monster in their backfield, I think Ezekiel Elliott has the potential to be the offensive rookie of the year. And when we go defensive rookie of the year, I'm going to have to roll with my guy, Robert Mdici. Always jack his name up, but it's just for the simple fact he's on the Cardinals, and the Cardinals defense they've been a top 1, 2, 3, or at least in the top 5 for the last 2 to 3 seasons. So Bruce Arians is going to find a way to release this young rookie out there and tear some things up. So I think that the Cardinals are going to be a great team this year. Their defense is awesome. A defense that I'm going to look to draft in the multiple fantasy leagues that I'm in. But I think based on how great their defense is, whether it's the cornerback position or the safety positions or their defensive line, it's just going to put him in a position to show his worth as a rookie. And I think Bruce Arians is gonna make that happen. And last but not least, let's go coach of the year. I'm going Jack Del Rio, only because I think the Raiders are going to be something special. And with the return of Tony Romo, Des Bryant healthy, Jason Witten on that squad, the three-headed monster, that offensive line, hopefully they do something to address their defense, because in the first 4 games, they're going to be missing 3 of their premier offense or defensive players, their premier defensive players. And then after the first 4 games, they're going to be missing 1 of their premier defensive players. So like I said, I think Jason Garrett should be, and he is at least the second coach I think that should receive coach of the year honors after Jack Del Rio. So like I said, I'm believing in those Raiders and I'm believing in the Cowboys. And since the NFC East is kind of NFC least, you don't know what you're going to get. You know, Washington is probably going to go out there and ball. Cowboys have to go out there and ball. Not sure what we're going to get from the Giants. Not sure what you're going to get from the Philadelphia Eagles. So, ladies and gentlemen, end of season awards, like I said, Russ Wilson, Antonio Brown, Aaron Rodgers, mix. Khalil Mack, Ezekiel Elliott, Robert Mdici, Jack Del Rio, Jason Garrett, mix. That's how I feel. Please remember where you heard it first. And if you want to put your money down on Vegas, be sure that I get a cut of your winnings for blessing you with my opinion and what I think is going to happen. Okay, so moving on. Let's get into some AFC playoff teams in this order, right here in this order. 1 through 6. This is my AFC playoff rankings. These are the teams that I believe will be in the playoffs come January. The New England Patriots, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Indianapolis Colts, the Cincinnati Bengals, and those Oakland Raiders right there. NFC, Seattle Seahawks, Carolina Panthers, Green Bay Packers, Dallas Cowboys, Arizona Cardinals, and the Minnesota Vikings. During the wild card weekend, AFC matchups, I'm going to take Kansas City over the Raiders. Granted, I want to see the Raiders succeed, but having a winning record, getting a wild card, going into the playoffs, I think that's a great season. And what will capitalize that is them moving to Las Vegas. And then I see them as a team that will win the division, that will come into wild card weekend and squeak out a win during wild card weekend. And then next thing you know, we'll see them in the division round. So I'm going to give the Raiders praises for having a good season this year. But I think the only thing they're going to get out of this is a playoff spot, and they'll play a close game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And then everything will be all said and done. But we won't go back to calling them the same old Raiders. We're going to be calling them the Raiders of way back when it was all about hashtag just win, baby. So I'm taking the Chiefs over the Raiders during the wild card weekend. That second matchup, I'm going to take Indy over Cincy during the wild card weekend. And I just think Andrew Luck is just going to go out there. He's going to ball. And if you remember what I said about the Bengals a couple weeks ago, they just need to go out there and prove it and make it happen. And I just don't see them as the team that's really going to do anything in the playoffs. I see them being a great regular season team. I don't see them being a great playoff team. So I'm taking the Chiefs over the Raiders, Indy over Cincy. In terms of wild card weekend, the AFC and the NFC, I'm going Green Bay over Minnesota. They're going to split. So they're going to face each other 3 times this season. And I think the Vikings will get a win, whether it be at home or on the road, but they're going to split those 2 wins. But then in that third game, the Vikings, I just don't think they're going to find a way to beat the Packers at home. And I think the Packers will have the better record, which will put them in a position to win the division. And then that wild card weekend game is going to be in Green Bay. And I just don't think the Vikings will have enough to make it happen. From there, I'm going to take Arizona over Dallas. Now, you're probably scratching your head like, well, why would you take Arizona over Dallas when you just said that Jason Garrett may be the coach of the year? Well, I mean by just win improvements. I mean, they won, 4 games last year? So they were 3-1 with Tony Romo and 1-11 without Tony Romo. So they were 4-12. I think Jason Garrett is going to do enough to put them in a position to win that division. And all you need to win that division, I think, will be 10 games. So I see the Cowboys going 10-6, 11-5, which will be a huge turnaround from 4-12. And I think he should get those honors. That's if the Raiders meltdown, and I don't see the Raiders meltdown, so that's why I'm sticking with Jack Del Rio. So NFC wildcard weekend, Green Bay over Minnesota, Arizona Cardinal over the Dallas Cowboys, okay? When we get to the divisional round, that's when the team that had the bye gets to play, and that winning team from the week prior gets to travel, and you will have the New England Patriots versus the Indianapolis Colts. It probably won't be another Deflategate situation, but as long as Tom Brady is behind center, they have that 2 tight end set with my man Martellus Bennett and Gronkowski. You get Julian Edelman back fresh and ready to go, very healthy from, the injuries and bumps in the roads he had. Their run game is so-so. Their defense has gotten better. I just don't see Indy going to Foxborough and beating those guys at Gillette Stadium. So I'm taking New England over Indy. And then I'm also going to take Pitt over KC, okay? And I feel confident about how I think the Pittsburgh Steelers will end up representing the AFC. I'm willing to debate and talk to anyone about it, and I'm not even a Pittsburgh fan. But I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to go out there and they're going to make something happen, and they have a lot to prove. In the NFC, I'm going to go with Seattle over Arizona. Now, a lot of people have that flip. They honestly think it's Arizona's year, and they think that Arizona is going to represent the NFC. And so a lot of people are saying, I think you have it wrong when you pick the Hawks against this team. I think it needs to be the Cardinals against this team. But for me, I'm rolling with the Hawks over the Cardinals, and I'm also rolling with the Carolina Panthers over the Green Bay Packers. So when we get to the championship weekend, when you have the Steelers face the Patriots. Now, wins, losses, you know what I'm saying? It depends on who's going to have the better record, okay? So if the Steelers have the better record, the Patriots have to come to Pittsburgh. And in that situation, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to beat the New England Patriots. But I'm banking on the simple fact that I think the Pittsburgh Steelers will have the better record. And what's helping me out is the fact that Tom Brady is gone for not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 games. So it's in my favor. Now, obviously, Le'Veon Bell is going to be gone. And then my man, Martavis Bryant is gone for the year. But I mean, you still have Le'Veon Bell, you still have Antonio Brown, and then you got the kid that my father-in-law was telling me about. Geez, he's like the 3rd wide receiver on the depth chart when you have Martavis Bryant there, but he's been elevated and boosted to the 2nd wide receiver on the depth chart. I can't think of his name right now. But then you go look at what the Pittsburgh Steelers did in the draft and what they did in the offseason to make that defensive unit better. So I'm rolling with the Steelers over the Patriots. And then in NFC, I'm rolling with the Seahawks over Carolina. And that's going to be a great rematch of how my MVP, Russell Wilson, had a meltdown in the first half and tried his best to bring them back in the second half, but there wasn't enough time. So if you recall a conversation that we had in one of our earlier episodes in February after the Super Bowl, or it was in between championship game and the Super Bowl, somewhere either in between there or after the Super Bowl, I said my preseason pick is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Seattle Seahawks. Who's going to win? I don't know, because I want to see some games played with starting lineups. But as of now, Super Bowl 51 will be played by, or the game will feature, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Seattle Seahawks. Houston, we have a problem. Because one of these teams is going to go home as winners. The other team is going to go home as a loser. Who will it be? I don't know. But you know what? Cheers to Super Bowl 51, and cheers to the Steelers and the Seahawks being the teams to represent their conferences, AFC and NFC, and also make me look like a mad genius for picking them. Boom. Okay, now we're going to go on another break. So, stay locked, stay tuned with us. Get prepared to come back. And when I come back, like I said, we're going to get into our hot take segment, which, like I said, normally takes 2 individuals. But hopefully we have some listeners out there that want to chime in. And even if you don't chime in tonight, you can always chime in by replying to us on Facebook, replying to us on YouTube, replying to us on Twitter, emailing us, whatever the case may be. We want to hear what you have to say. You sit here and listen to us. Please provide us with some information on the 5 topics that we have during the hot take segment. So like I said, I will return here shortly. I will hope to see you. You will see me, and we'll be back. The C&J Sports and Beer Podcast will be back. Y'all stay locked, stay tuned. We'll see you in a minute.
I got one take for him, Jay. That's it. Hey, don't judge me if I fuck this up. I'm just rolling with it. But yo, Freestyle Tuesdays, brought to you by The Works and all that. And it's Joe June on the track too. DOA, love this beat, check it out. Hey, YOLO, my nigga, I'ma party till it stops. Taking shots, doing drugs, I'ma blame it on Ciroc. Hey, and pop a cool X pill, smoking broccoli. I'm yelling YOLO for I black out in the hallway. It's all good driving drunk. Then I hear the lady with her baby catch me down a slump. Never buckled up, but fucking I'm tough. I'm holding up, but my niggas that be texting and driving know what's up. YOLO, my name is Kimmy and I'm 16. A sex fiend, once a week I'm on a different king. I'm preggo, but don't ask me who the daddy may be. There's no one out of how to shake it when they holler at me. I'm so confident, I don't give a shit. I'm still young, my nigga, I'm living it. Popping pills, I'm feeling like limitless. YOLO, YOLO. Pass me that crack and that cocaine, my nigga. I'ma do it. Nah, nah.
Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's the works. We embody real creative soul. It's the homeboys from Oceanside, California. If you want to listen to their music, all you have to do is hit them up or check their SoundCloud profile out. You can find all their music, new and old. And as I said a couple weeks ago, they actually let me preview and check out their latest project. So over the course of a few years, they've been working on this project and they've produced some of the songs that's on their SoundCloud profile. They went in and I guess you can say reworked some of those songs. Add more to it, change the beat up. So they reproduce music on this mixtape they've been working on called Sore Thumbs. You can see some of the tracks on the SoundCloud profile, but they sent me all the tracks, the entire album to review and check out, and it's fire. I think it's pretty good. Underground guys, you know what I'm saying, don't want to be heard, but they want to be heard, and they shed none but a positive light to hip hop. So like I said, the works, we embody real creative soul. My man Jay Ricks and my homeboy Joe June, check them out when you get a chance. But here we go with our hot take segment. LeBron James is in the mix with our hot take segment. Olympic gold medal won by the men's basketball team is in our hot take segment. Dak Prescott is in our hot take segment. College football players and suspensions is in our hot take segment. And then at the end, we got a triple threat thing going on where you can either talk about Melo and his retirement from international play, Kobe starting the $100 million investment fund, or Kwame Brown deciding that he wants to come back to the NBA. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. If you're chiming in live with us, if you have Twitter, or I mean, if you don't have Twitter, and let's just say you're on Facebook right now, go ahead and drop your comment or your reply in the Facebook post to this link that will be shared at that given time, whether it be the next 5 minutes or the next 5 hours. But anyways, LeBron James had some things to say about Michael Jordan. Okay, I'll state his comments. And I just want to know how you guys really feel about his comments. You either support it or you don't support it. And then after that, you know what I'm saying, when I get some replies next week, I'll be sure to run those replies back via social media or live on air. But LeBron has said during an interview that he feels like he's chasing the ghost of MJ. LeBron also suggested that MJ might actually be getting a little bit too much credit for the championships won during the Chicago Bulls era. Now, I don't have the exact audio right here, and I don't have the quote, but I'm sure everyone has heard this because this has been a national story all this week and all last week. So if you're listening live, please tweet us, reply to us on Facebook, reply to us on our YouTube channel underneath this video, YouTube comments. Let us know how you feel about LeBron James speaking on the GOAT, the greatest of all time, known as Michael Jordan. So that's going to be a homework assignment for you guys. Also, another homework assignment that I want to give to you guys if you want to partake in. I think at the end of the day, all that matters is we won gold. So that's all I care about, and I think that's all the players care about. But do you think that the team that was assembled to represent the United States men's basketball club, do you think that was the greatest team available? Not the greatest team ever, but do you think that was the greatest team available? How do you feel about their performance? Do you think they left a lot of things on the court? Do you think they played at a high level? Do you think it was a good team? Who would you put on the team that wasn't on the team? Who would you pull from the team that's on the team? Let me know. Let Jared know at CJ Sports Beer Podcast. CJ Sports Beer Pod. I don't know why I like always adding the podcast aspect on it, but I think that's what it should have been. But it flowed so better when you just said at CJ Sports Beer Pod. It was just better that way. But it also sounds better when you add podcast at the end of it, because everything we have says podcast. So it's really crazy. But anyways, that's another homework assignment for you guys to address to us either today, tomorrow, or next week. We will shout out any and everyone who decides to provide some feedback to us on the USA men's basketball team. And if you feel like me, like I said, at the end of the day, it's a gold medal was won. The opposition was to win a gold medal. It doesn't matter if you win by 50 points or you win by 5 points. All that matters is you get the W and you win. And that's what our men's basketball team did. So like I said, Twitter, reply. Facebook, reply. YouTube comment section after this video is posted. You can reply to that. So that's 2 homework assignments right there. Now, what I'm going to speak on and what I feel passionate about and what I believe in is the Dak Attack. And this is a comment that me and Jared had via email over the weekend when we were preparing the show together and whatnot, that was supposed to be produced on Wednesday. But like I said, at the end of the day, we had some technical issues and now it's being re-recorded here on Thursday night. But I gave this topic the title of the Dak Attack. Will Romo, as in Tony Romo, lose his job? Okay. And this is one of those situations where either you guys are going to believe with me or you're not going to believe in me, or you're going to roll with me or you're not going to roll with me on this situation. But before the NFL, like I said, as a college player, Dak Prescott was a quarterback that I watched. And it's not necessarily because I thought he was great. It's because my father-in-law thought this guy was legit. And he was on the Mississippi State bandwagon until they lost. And then he went away from, but he supported Dak Prescott. And he thought and still think that this kid is a great quarterback. And I watched him at the time based on what my father-in-law was saying. This would have been 2 years ago. And last year he had an amazing season too, but it just wasn't as great as 2 years ago. Now he's in the NFL and I think he's great. But like I said, over the weekend, Jared and I had a conversation, and Jared doesn't necessarily even believe that Dak Prescott is great. I think he thinks he's decent and he's good, but he doesn't think he's great. And he thinks that the only way that Tony Romo will lose his starting job is if he gets injured. And since I guess I'm confused, because you would think Jared has the Cowboys finishing dead last, damn near in the NFC East. So you would think that Jared would be happy that Dak Prescott wins the starting position, because it would put the Cowboys in a position to not win any games without Tony Romo, and their success is only success when Tony Romo is healthy and he's on the field. Because like I said, last year he played in 4 games. They won 3, they lost 1. When he went down with the injury, they had 12 games. They won 1, they lost 11. It was a nasty season for the Dallas Cowboys. So I think Dak Prescott is a stud. And I also think the kid should have been taken before, or the only quarterback that should have been taken before Dak Prescott should have been Connor Cook. And that's in my opinion right there. Jared Goff had great numbers, but he could never really lead those Golden Bears to victory. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They had that stretch where they won 5 games in a row and everybody thought they were going to be legit and thought they were the real deal. And next thing you know, they fell off that cliff and they were never able to recover. At one point, Jared Goff went 1-11 as a starter. So does he have the makeup to be a good quarterback in the NFL? Yeah, I believe so. But if I had the opportunity, would I take him over Dak Prescott? Hell no. Next, a quarterback that was taken before Dak Prescott, Carson Wentz. In his final season, check this out, in his final season, he was plagued by injury. I believe it was like a broken hand or broken thumb or some kind of hand injury that put him out for 8 weeks. So prior to last season and him missing 8 weeks, he only had one great season as a starter at North Dakota State University. Other than that, he's just an average quarterback. And the fact that he was taken over Dak Prescott, a quarterback who showed that he could play, he can ball out, and he's good, and he played great in the SEC, that just blew my mind. We have another quarterback who reminds me of my quarterback, the guy I represent for, the guy who wears a Chicago Bears uniform, Jay Cutler. Christian Hackenberg is the next Jay Cutler. Hopefully he can turn it around, but I was so confused when Christian Hackenberg was drafted before Dak Prescott. Okay? And then you have Connor Cook, the only quarterback that I think that should have been drafted before Dak Prescott. But I'm still kind of pissed off that Connor Cook fell out of the top 10, fell out of the top 20, fell out of the top 30. I mean, Connor Cook was all the way down on the list. That totally blew my mind. And I don't know if it's because of how he performed in that playoff game. I don't know if that was the case where he was just totally a dud, a firecracker that you could have poured gasoline on and it wouldn't have popped at all. Okay. So when I look at the quarterbacks that were drafted before him, and then I look at teams that drafted players before Dak Prescott, whether it was the 5 teams before him and then the 5 teams after him, whatever the case may be, you had the 5 teams above him being drafted. You had the Browns, the Broncos, the Hawks, the Pats, and the Lions. Teams that need a quarterback, okay? Teams that need a quarterback. And 3 of those teams could have used Dak Prescott, not necessarily right now, before the future. And those 3 teams, I think, you know what I'm saying? You have the Hawks. He could have been there for a while to see what he can do behind Russell Wilson. The Broncos they're in need of a quarterback. You had the Browns, who seem like they don't necessarily believe that RG3 is going to be there for the long term, but you had someone there that could build off the foundation that Hugh Jackson and RG3 that would have put together. And then after that, you know what I'm saying, not necessarily the Pats because it seemed like they have their man, but the Detroit Lions, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people in Detroit don't believe in Matthew Stafford. And you had a guy like Dak Prescott right there that was passed over, okay? And then if you look at the teams below that could have used him, you know, after he was drafted, the Cowboys, the Chargers, both Phillip Rivers and Tony Romo, they've been in the NFL for a very long time, but they could have used a young stud like him. Now, the Jags, maybe not because they have a young stud, but then you think about the Ravens and you think about the Chiefs, like they could have used his services at some point. So at the end of the day, I think Dak Prescott is the real deal. Now, is he going to get the opportunity to show he's the real deal outside of preseason? I don't know. I mean, I'm tempted to look at his stats because the Seahawks and the Cowboys played tonight in the preseason game, and he's been lighting it up during the preseason. And that's what I'm going to speak on next. I mean, he's been killing it in the preseason. And I know people couldn't care less about the preseason. But I mean, I want to point that out. And the only reason why I want to point that out because I think it's great that he's making plays and the Cowboys don't have to worry about not being able to move on if Romo goes down. And that's something that was just over their head last season, because when Romo went out, they went through 2 to 3 different quarterbacks and it just didn't work out. And you can tell it didn't work out because they only won 1 game out of 12. So overall, like I said, I think he's a stud. I think he's going to be something special. And I hope Romo stays healthy, but I hope when it's time for Dak Prescott to go out there and kick some rear and show that he's not 135th overall pick in the draft, I think he's going to go out there and do it. So that's my take there on Dak Prescott. The next topic, like I said, is another one of those homework for you. And that's just what the hell is going on in South Bend. Or just overall, what the hell is going on with these top programs entering the season without key players on the roster that are gone due to suspension? I mean, what do you guys make of the number of off-season incidents surrounding college football? What do you make of that? And what do you suggest happen to these players if they find themselves in situations that will either cause themselves a career in the NFL, a degree from a top university, or their team to go from being winners to losers? Because what's happening with Notre Dame, I mean, I don't know who's going to be the next guy up, but they're in a situation where I had high praises for them this season, and it doesn't look like they're going to be as good as they could have been. The fact that they lost 4 players. Now, granted, those weren't 4 big-time players, but those are 4 players that contribute to the success last season and that, Coach Kelly had, on his radar to produce this season. So, like I said, if you can and if you will, on Twitter at CJ Sports Beer Pod, on Facebook at C&J Sports and Beer Podcast, let me know how you feel about the suspensions that have plagued some top football programs in the national or NCAA, so our college football, okay? So here we go right now. It's our triple threat, okay? And I want you guys to pick one, okay? Melo retiring from international play. Kobe investing and starting $100 million investment fund. Kwame Brown looking to return to the NBA. Facebook. Google Plus. You can respond to us on Google Plus. I should have thrown that in, but Facebook response, Google Plus response, YouTube channel video post response, and Twitter response. Please let me know, what do you want to talk about? How do you want to create some dialect with me and Jarrett on the show either next week or throughout the week before we get to episode 18 on these 3 topics here, whether it be Carmelo Anthony retiring from international play, Kobe Bryant and his $100 million investment fund that he's starting, and my man Kwame Brown, number 1 draft pick by Michael Jordan. I don't want to say he was a number 1 bust because there are guys that have been worse than him, but a guy who averaged anywhere between 6 to 8 points per game and 7 to 8 rebounds per game, who was supposed to be a big-time player, didn't live up to what Michael Jordan and a lot of individuals thought he would live up to. So those are the three things you can speak on in addition to other things I mentioned in our hot take segment. So I'm going to go on a quick break before we wrap up the show and we get prepared for another show. But like I said, stay tuned, stay locked with us. This is a C&J Sports and Beer Podcast, and we will return shortly.
Yeah, Hiya, man. You rocking with your boy J Ricks from the works. Joe June in the background, just kicking it. Little freestyle night, little freestyle session. What'd you say my topic was, Joe? A girl. Oh man, a girl. All right, let's come up with some somber shit though, man. Let me think real quick. Yeah. Good luck, baby. We over now. I know it now. You rather take the same path than a different route. You never know where it goes till you walk it out. But you stuck on the same things you been about. Bank account, nice car, nice crib. What's your zip? Great meal, there it is. Guess what? We all got a shit. Your man gets sick, then there goes the crib. Tax man comes, then there goes the whip. The moral of the story, you could lose all of this, but no, we ain't the same. The more important things to me is chemistry, personality, loyalty, honesty, integrity, respect. Things you can't buy with a pen and a check. Health has no price. Ask Steve Jobs' wife. She would trade it all to have him come back into life. Health has no price. Ask Steve Jobs' wife. She would trade it all to have him come back into life. See, love lasts forever. Your looks never do. Cause right around the corner there's a better looking you. A much younger you. And really it's the truth. Your skin gets wrinkled. The titties gon' sag. You could get lipo, but youth never lasts. The worst part about it, your man married you only cause your looks, and you married him too.
Okay. Welcome back to the C&J Sports and Beer Podcast, everyone. On this Thursday night, it's about 9:30, August 25th, and this is episode 17. Solo episode that I'm doing without the homie Jared. But you know what? It's not always going to be like that. Jared is going to be back with us next week, and we're going to produce a great show. So, like I said, next week is going to be episode 18, College Town or College State Beer. And if anyone knows me, you know I am a huge Michigan Wolverines fan. And I think those Wolverines have a lot to prove this season, and they're going to do major things. So, next week, the show is going to be surrounded around the teams we represent, as well as our college predictions, okay? We're going to talk about, the 2016 AP Top 25 teams. We're going to talk about week 1 of the college football starting, or I guess continuing to start since it starts a little bit this week. And then we're also going to talk about the brews from either the state or the city that we represent, or that college team that we represent. So for me, I'm going to roll with Bell's Expedition Stout. And this here is going to be the beer that's going to represent my Michigan Wolverines right there. Let me get that straight right there. Bell's Expedition Stout. Boom. Right there. So Bell's Expedition Stout is going to be one of the beers. And then I don't know if I'm going to lean more towards the Block 15 Gloria, which is an unfiltered Pilsner. Block 15 Gloria. I don't know if that's going to be the one. It may or may not, okay? May or may not. I might roll with that Gloria in the can, or I may go with the Anthem of Sun, which is a dry hopped sour golden ale with citrus peel. Okay, so either or, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what it's gonna be, but I can tell you Block 15 is either gonna represent, or the Oregon State Beavers are gonna either be represented by the Gloria, okay, or the sour. I don't know. One of them will be represented majorly via my pick to hold it down for the Oregon State Beavers. And like I said, the stout is going to be the choice for my Michigan Wolverines. So at the end of the day, if you want to be on the show, you already know who to contact. You can contact myself at C&J Sports and Beer Podcast at gmail.com. Email me if you want to be on the show. You can reach out to Jared, C&J Sports and Beer Podcast 2 at gmail.com. If email isn't your thing, we have the Facebook account where you can message us, or you can post a comment to be on the show. hit me up on Twitter at CJ Sports Beer Pod, at CJ Sports Beer Pod. And just remember, a few weeks ago, we announced a giveaway that we were doing, and we hope a lot of individuals partake and want to participate in this giveaway. But if you're familiar with the beer scene, then that means you're familiar with DeGard Brewing. We're going to be giving away some yummy, tasty DeGard sours. So, go back to episode 15, 16, today, 17, watch 18 and watch 19. Watch 20, because on episode 21, we will reveal the winner. And during episode 20, we're going to post a few questions that will put you in a position, if you watch us all the time when we're live, or you watch us on the playback, you just go back, maybe you watch those videos over, or you remember 5 questions, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 5 questions that we're going to ask during episode 20 that will put you in a position to be a winner of the giveaway that we have going on. So, hey, the show it's a wrap. It's a wrap. I want to thank everyone who stayed up with me late on this Thursday night, watched it live, or will go back on a playback to watch what I brought to the table today and what Jared and I bring to the table each and every week. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank the fans. Thank the producers who they're producing off-site tonight. They're not around. So, what I'm saying? They're watching the show and letting me know what I need to do, when I need to do it. But thank you, Marlena May Bennett and my homeboy David Masso. Appreciate you. Everybody who watched the show tonight, thank you. And like I said, I cannot wait to see you guys again next week on Wednesday. Remember, we're no longer broadcasting live on Monday. Wednesday is the night that is the day, 7:30 p.m. at night is the time you will catch the C&J Sports and Beer podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to get ready and sign off. It's fun. It has been fun. I love y'all. I miss y'all. When I hit end and the podcast is over, I wish you guys were still with me, but I know you guys will be back next week. This is the homie Jay Ricks from The Works. We embody real creative soul. You know who I am, Charlie. I'm signing off. Peace.
No more competition, cause all we see is death. Haley Joel Osment shit, fuck a 6 cents. Cause I'm sick, yes, Contagion Ian effects. My rhyme's impeccable. When jab, you a vegetable. Looking for that green, the color of Master Chief. If you wanna see great, then take a look at me. My head cuts clean like Agent 47. Chilling with my ballers, no need for other weapons. Cause rappers start to hate when they think that you bragging. Wanna start fights like losing games of Madden.
Man, what up, dog? I got flow. And when I get up on the page, I let the pen go. And they like the way I do my thing. Cause I ride that bitch, man, it's bombs away, man. Bombs away. Hey, oh, hey, oh. Bombs it's away. Automatic. Bombs away. Hey, oh, hey, oh. Bombs it's automatic. Man, it's tick, tick, boom, I'm a lit, fuse when my competition varies, then I click, boom, like the mad bomber, bombing bands blowing up the stage, in my face, smoky great, leaving rappers in the vase, it's the